Hello, I'm John O'Flaherty, the B3 Burner, and today we're in double screen recording mode because we'll need the left screen for the flight simulator and the right screen for the Sky Dolly dashboard. Sky Dolly is flight recording software for Microsoft Flight Simulator. Today my target audience for this video are the people who already know how to use Sky Dolly but are having flying issues during playback. So let's say you've recorded a flight and want to play back the landing. So we'll hit play, and it's playing back the landing that we made during the recording. It's not a great landing. It has its deficiencies. The landing's not great, but the recording works, and that's the important thing. The playback is working the way we had recorded it. And it's a sordid affair of wavering back and forth in the sky, floating, landing left of center line, weaving as I land. And the coup de grace is a horrible taxi job where I dipped my wing into the ground. I would have broken my wing and my propeller in real life if that had been a real landing. So the landing wasn't good, but the recording was decent. So let's say you've recorded a flight and now you want to play it back. We'll wait for the recording to get to the end, and when we get to 1302, that's when the recording had stopped. Now we back up our recording. So let's say we've recorded the flight and want to play it back. After the timeline reaches the far right end and you've stopped recording, you manually back up the timeline arrow with your left mouse button to a position about a minute before landing, which will be about 10 minutes and 45 seconds in thereabouts. You're watching your plane make its approach and you say, hey, wait a minute, that's not what I recorded. Why isn't it playing the recording back correctly? Instead, I spiraled into the ground and crashed. Yeah, you sure did. Many people have fallen victim to this and think Sky Dolly has a bug. However, there is a way to avoid this and have it play back your recording correctly every time if you keep an eye on this one thing, and I'm going to show you what it is in a second. When you reach the end and it's playing back and it ends at 1302, notice the playback arrow went from green to gray. Make sure the playback arrow in the center of the dashboard is green before allowing your plane to fly any further. So let's back it up again to the 1045 mark or thereabouts. It's zigging out of control, but if I hit the play button, it immediately gets back on course. Your plane will then fly the route as you had recorded it, and it will complete the proper landing as such. You see, what's happening is after the timeline cursor gets to the end, it automatically turns the playback button gray. Watch it again. I'm going to show you as it gets to the end. 1301, 1302, it went green to gray. If the play button is grayed out, the flight is no longer attached to the data from the recording. Now you have to control the plane in real time with your joystick, since your plane will no longer fly the approach unless you supply the inputs during playback. Allow me to demonstrate. We'll go back to 1045. It's drifting off course. Now I'm applying joystick inputs manually during my supposed playback. My throttle's a little messed up. I'm coming in way too low and from the left, but at least I managed to get it back to the runway, even though the landing isn't the greatest. I got it on the runway. If you just sit there watching and waiting for your plane to land and do nothing, the plane will eventually go off course, spiral and crash, because it was waiting for your joystick inputs and not getting any. So the question is this a bug or a feature? I'll be positive and say I believe it's a feature. By graying out the play button, playback time freezes and you're taking the plane off the rails, so to speak, and allowing it to fly via your commands. This is perfect if you want to correct a bad landing. Or if you simply want to change camera angles on the original playback and keep everything else the same, make sure the playback button remains green. Remember, if you drag the timeline button backwards in the grayed condition without realizing it, you begin your playback with a grayed out playback button. That's why, unbeknownst to some people, the plane failed to follow the original route, and it starts drifting like this. Hopefully this advice should help. I'm John O'Flaherty, the B3 Burner, and goodbye.